Aloha, Lohali signing in, and it is time for me to talk about the Wonder of Eyeshield 21. Now, those of you who have been following me for a while know that I drop the name of this series constantly and consistently because it is one of my absolute favorite manga, one of my top 2 favorite sports manga of all time, and I highly consider it one of the best sports manga of all time. But that's just me. This story touched my life at a very, very important time, and it has helped push me through powerlifting. It has helped me continue my love of the genre, and I binge read this series constantly. At least once a year I will go through and reread it because it is stunning to look at. I'm emotionally invested, and there's just something that draws me in every single time. So first, to understand why it's so well written and why it's so beautiful, you need to know who the writer and the illustrator are. So the writer is Inagaki. He is the mind that is behind Dr. Stone, one of Shonen Jump's current most popular series. This is, again, one of his bigger series right before Dr. Stone, and I honestly like it a heck of a lot more. It's well thought out. The power system, and we're actually going to call it a technique or a skill system, is really, really down to earth, even though it's kind of cranked to that little bit of 11 that we all know. And the artwork is by Murata, the same man who is currently redrawing One Punch Man. So you know this looks good from chapter number 1, from page number 1. This is stunning and enthralling. Now, this story focuses on Senna, a weak and timid freshman in high school who has the special ability to run at 4.2 seconds over a 40-yard distance, which is fast. To put this into perspective, that's really fast. Like, ridiculously fast. Like, if he were to try out for the NFL, he'd be in the top contenders with those legs. And along with the Demon Devil Bats headed by Hiruma, I actually got it right this time, and Kurita, the lineman. Now, the reason why I say that this story really draws you in and has such a well-established power system is the fact that in the first 2 chapters, we kind of get introduced to the limits of Senna's legs, and we kind of get an idea of where his powers and abilities are going to be able to go. Now, this isn't like a super-powered manga. It's just, again, real-world abilities kind of cranked up to 11. So, within the first 2 chapters, it is established that Senna can run 4.2 seconds in that 40-yard distance, which is great. That is, like I said, insane. And we also see that this ability was honed by running errands for people. And doing this really allowed him to learn how to cut through crowds to get these errands done and not spill anything. And that's great. This scaling is introduced so well, and it's probably one of my favorite in all of shonen manga, right up there with Hajime no Ippo, with just how the system works, if that makes any sense at all, even though it's real world physics. Now, another unique thing about this art and this story is how it pulls you in emotionally. Within the first 20 chapters, spoilers ahead by the way, Senna and the Demon Devil Bats enter a tournament. They win the first game, but they lose the second game to the Ojo Knights. We're just gonna call them the Knights of the Round Table. And they lose spectacularly because, well, the team isn't very well formed. They have 3 regular members. And this really sparks a rivalry within Senna with a guy in the opposing team named Shin. Widely considered the best linebacker in the high school game of football in Japan. Now, the reason why this is so touching is within these 20 chapters, we have seen Senna really start to grow and mature on his own. He's put in hard work and effort, which is something that he was not used to doing, and he made friends in this sport. Chapter 20 establishes that there was a failure. And he is sad that this tournament ended because when it did, he was under the impression that the team would never get to come together and play again. And we get this beautiful scene, and I'm going to throw this image right here of him just crying, and it is so visceral. This exact image really brought a tear to my eye, and doing that within the first 20 chapters is something that is exceedingly rare for me. I was just so blown away by this, and I just keep coming back to this manga because of moments like that. But let's gush about the art for a second. Now, we all know that Murata is probably one of the most skilled mangaka of current times. I mean, he's probably top 5 if I had to say so myself. And the way that he draws characters and their postures and their actions is so tactile and unique to each individual design that even if you can't see their face or see very many distinguishing details about them, I could show you an image and you would be able to immediately tell me who it was just based on how either they're moving or by how they're standing, which is great. The way that these panels flow really draw your eye and make you go from panel to panel to panel to panel, and it's just brilliant how this whole thing is established and how you really crave more of the art with each page. And like I said, from page 1 to page whatever the last page was in the last book at chapter 330, we could probably do some quick math and call it like 7,000 pages later. The art is top notch. It's amazing, and it's wonderful. Now, that's not to say there aren't some negatives to go along with this series. But the only one that is prevalent in my mind is the final arc. And I have said this a lot, and I actually have a whole nother video dedicated to this. But Eyeshield 21 suffers from final arc syndrome, where it is either rushed or it just wasn't well thought out. We end this long-running manga where each arc built on top of itself by concluding in nearly 30 chapters. And to me, that ain't cool. They rush through and establish the opposing teams and tournament. And when you finally get to the end, or I guess one chapter away from the end, it cuts off. It leaves you really wanting more, and they answer what exactly happens in chapter 333, I believe, but just by pictures and a little bit of exposition. And now this felt weak. But that's not to say that the ending was bad. It just wasn't something that this work of art, Eyeshield 21, deserved. It deserved so much better. Now, the last chapter was amazing. It introduced a 3-year time skip. It introduced the opportunity for a second series of this where they were all in college facing each other. And it honestly left me craving so much more. Which is weird because, like I said, this last arc wasn't great, but the last chapter completely turned it around in my mind. This series will always hold a very special place in my heart, and I cannot say enough good things about it. I could probably talk for days and days and days and answer any question that you have on this series. So if you do have anything that you want to ask about it, put it down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. I would highly recommend picking this series up. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. It's, again, it doesn't have to be perfect to be a 10 out of 10. But I will come back and read it. If you haven't gotten the chance to read Chapter 1 of Eyeshield 21, if you enjoy shonen, if you enjoy sports, if you just enjoy beautifully drawn series, then this is absolutely the series to pick up for you. And that is the wonder behind Eyeshield 21. It draws me in more and more and more, and I gush about it like I'm Old Faithful constantly. So let me know if you've read this down in the comments below, and You know, what did you think about this? I loved it, and thank you so much for enjoying this with me. Don't forget to check down there for my latest Monday video, along with right over there for something else that I know you are going to love. And as always, for everyone new and old, welcome and welcome back. It's your boy Lohali, signing out.